This video today we're going to talk about punctuation. Let's take a look at this writing here. What do you notice as you look at it? And pay careful attention. And what you probably notice is that there is no punctuation. So let's think more deeply about it. What punctuation should be added? Think about it. You could even pause the video and try to think about, where should I add it? You might notice that there are no periods at the ends of sentences. For example, we need one here and here. We also need an apostrophe right here, and there are probably some other places also. Now, punctuation is important in English. For one, it just shows that you're being careful and that you're trying to do good writing. The second thing is that punctuation can be a part of your grade. For example, in this rubric here, punctuation is part of the grading. If you do really good in your punctuation, you can get up to 5 points. But of course, if you do a bad job, you can get a lower number of points, 3 or 1 in this case. So in addition to being part of your grade, punctuation sometimes influences the meaning. And let's take a look at what I mean by this. Let's look at this sentence. My friend's favorite sport is football. It's missing some punctuation. Specifically, we need an apostrophe to show possession. There is the word sport, and the sport belongs to who? Well, it's the friend, right? The friend is the one that has a favorite sport. So we need to add an apostrophe. There's a problem though. How many friends are we talking about? One friend or many friends? If we add an apostrophe here, that means one thing, and if we add an apostrophe here, that means another thing. What do you think the difference is? Well, if we add an apostrophe right here, that means I have one friend, and his favorite sport or her favorite sport is football. However, if I put the apostrophe after the S, then that means I have several friends and that all of them like football. Now let's think about this question. Why do some writers not punctuate correctly? Well, there are 3 simple reasons. 1, they don't know the rules. 2, their native language has different rules. And the third reason is that they've developed bad habits. All of us use phones these days, and many times when we're sending messages or making posts, we simply skip the punctuation. In this example here, we're missing several punctuation marks. We're missing apostrophe here, we're missing a period, and we're missing a question mark at the end of that little OK right there. And of course, that needs to be a capital O because it's a new sentence. There are several punctuation marks in English. Here are some of them. A period, or in British English called a full stop, usually ends a sentence like this. Commas separate lists and do many other things. A semicolon is very rare, and I don't suggest you use it very often, but it can separate 2 complete sentences. A colon usually sets off a list, and once again, I would recommend not using this very often. An apostrophe does a few things. One of the most important things is that it shows possession. Hank's favorite fruit is apples. Whose favorite fruit? Hank's. Quotation marks are for the exact words when someone is being quoted. So here, Hank said, and then quotation marks, I love apples and bananas. In the UK, they call these also inverted commas. A few other punctuation marks, parentheses, or in British English, brackets. In academic writing, many times we add in-text citations, and you should use these parentheses, or if you're from the UK, brackets, to show that you are adding an in-text citation there. Now, these in the US, we call them brackets. In the UK, we call them square brackets. Question marks for questions, exclamation points for exclamatory sentences, or in the UK, an exclamation mark. These 3 dots are called an ellipsis. An ellipsis means that you have removed some of the text. So here's a quote: "Economic troubles may signal the need for more investment in education and infrastructure." These three dots tell us there were words here, but we have removed them for some reason. A few punctuation basics, and there are many other rules, and I would encourage you to look at a good grammar book or a good reliable grammar website. First of all, put a period, question mark, or exclamation point at the end of every sentence. So, after a sentence, you must have a period, or if it's a question, a question mark. Use an apostrophe to show possession. So, right here, Jack's book, the book belongs to who? It belongs to Jack. Here, my brother's cars are expensive. Notice the apostrophe is outside of the S. That means I have several brothers and that all of them have cars. So if this apostrophe were inside the S, that means I only have one brother. And he has a car, or several cars in this case. Use an apostrophe for contractions. So instead of I am, if you write I'm, or instead of should not, you write shouldn't, then you need to add an apostrophe there. Of course, for academic writing, we should not use contractions. Put a comma in compound sentences. When you have two complete sentences combined with and, but, so, or, then you put a comma right there. When you have a list of things, you put a comma after each item. For example, New York, Paris, Manila, and Lagos are major cities. You also put a comma after an initial subordinate clause. So that means when you have a subordinate clause at the beginning of the sentence, then you would put a comma. For example, because Jack saved his money, comma, he can now buy a bicycle. Here's the thing. When you put the subordinate clause at the end of the sentence, notice that there is no comma right here. So Jack can now buy a bicycle because he saved his money, no comma. I would encourage you to use the electronic and computer tools that are available to you. You'll notice here that my computer showed me that I made a couple of mistakes in my punctuation. And so I should simply pay attention to that and make the corrections as needed. Now, computers are not perfect. The computer did not notice this problem here. It did not notice that I need a period here and here. So computers will not fix all of your problems, but I would encourage you to use the tools that are available to you, because many of us have access to the internet and other tools, and you can use those well. Just to review, punctuation matters because it shows you care about the language, it can influence your grade, and it can influence the meaning of what you're writing. There are several rules that we need to learn about punctuation, and I would encourage you once again, learn them. And finally, there are tools available that can help you. I hope this was helpful. Punctuate well.